Hey everyone, welcome back for another Tool Time Tuesday. Today we are doing something we haven't done for a while. I have a new tool review. So in this tool review, I'm kind of excited because I've had a lot of fun playing with this. I'm talking about the Durston ring shank benders. So let's take a look at those now. So the first one is their original ring shank bender. Now this features 5 different round dies, 12, 14, 16, 20, and 22 millimeter round. And then there were 2 more. They've got a square, which is a 90-degree, and a rhombus, which is a 60-degree bend. So the other thing I really like about this, I love how it stores. Notice that everything is all together. You can easily pick it up, move it around. It's not difficult at all. And you also get all of the included Delrin dies that match each of these, including that rhombus and the square, which was kind of nice. Now, in addition to this set, they also have another newer set, and this one has even more. We've got 4 additional round dies. So now we start at 8 millimeters. So we've got 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 22, and 24 is another one of the new. And then you also have a 20 millimeter, so in there between that 22 is your 20. You again have that rhombus with the 60-degree bend, and you have the square that has a 90-degree bend. Now the thing that's kind of cool about this one is that it all stores together. So I can just take and move that aside. The footprint is much smaller, but again, we still have it where it's very easy to pick up and move around. Obviously this one has just a little bit more weight. The stand itself is all metal, so we've got an all metal construction. It's beautifully done. Now you've got your ring bender here. So we've got the same ring bender, and I like the fact that I can store this even if I have this set up where I can mount this in a vise. You see that I've got that little mounting plate down there. And this is all kind of heavy, so just be aware of that. It's very well made. If we take a look at these similarities, of course, we still have the same dies. We just have more shapes on the 11-piece set than we have on the 7. We still have the Delrin. You still have the bender and the storage of that. So we have this little bar right here. Now this becomes a mounting bracket. So you would flip this over and attach this on, and they've included all of the hardware that's necessary for this. But you would put this on right here, tighten up the hex wrenches or the hex screws, and they include a hex wrench for that. And then you are able to mount this into your vise. So let me show you that. So here I have a small bench vise. It doesn't need to be very big. And what I'm going to do is just slip this right into there like so. Tighten up my bench vise. And we are about ready to go now. There are screws, or screw holes rather, here, here, and here. And that allows you to mount this onto a bench top or anything else like that. In addition to that, you could mount this, your whole holder, onto a bench top, and then you could mount this onto the plate here. So you have a number of different options. They also include all of the hardware necessary for each of those options. Obviously, if you were going to mount this to your bench top, you may want to have like a little grabber screw. So that might be something different to think about if you're going to mount it to a wooden top or metal top or whatever. So let's talk a little bit about how to use this now. What we have here is kind of a reduction gear. So you can just take and you can spin this handle, and it is going to do the most of the work for you. So this is great. People who have arthritis or they have joint pain or anything that makes it difficult to work, this becomes very, very handy for them. So what we would do is we would select our die. So in this case, I'm going to select the 12 millimeter. The thing I like here is that it's marked both here on the top as well as on the bottom. And then I would select the corresponding former. Now the formers on these are beautiful. They have a radiused edge here so that it reduces the amount of marring that's going to happen on your metals. Now depending on what you're doing, some marring is inevitable. It's just going to happen. But it certainly helps to have an edge here that has that radiused edge so you don't have a sharp point on it. Now you have that same type of a fit with the Delrin. Now if you're really concerned about marring your metal, get the Delrin. And these are replaceable. So if you ever damage one, you can just order a new one of those. The other thing that I really like about this is the way that these fit into the holder. Notice that the back end here, it's squared. So that means I can put this in here and I don't have to worry about this rocking as I'm trying to form my metal. So that's another thing that I really like. So let's go with the Delrin on this particular case, because here I have some wire that's been twisted. So here I have a piece of twisted wire, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to form it just into a nice tight circle around the 12mm mandrel. So maybe I'm going to make a jump ring or whatever the case might be. But what I want to do is I'm going to start forming this, but not right here at the point. If you can see this, that point extends beyond the midpoint of my mandrel. And what I will do is just bring this in, and I'm going to hold this, and then I'll remove it, move it back a little bit, and do it again. Okay, and that is how I get that nice, beautifully formed, rounded end, even here at the end. If I do it where I just stick that end in here, let's say that I go like this, and I line up my point right here, a lot of times what happens is your wire will tend to get spit out. So it just kind of pushes it out. So I always try to start kind of in the middle, or further in, and then I'll just rotate that around, and notice that I can take this either way. It doesn't matter which way I go. So then I'll bring this on here. Now another thing that I like to do is hold my tension here, and then I can pull my wire around. So that's another thing that you can do. And then I'll bring this back in and hold it again. And now we have our nice ring. And in this case, I went bypassed. So I bypassed it a little bit. So that way now when I cut this, I will be able to line it up perfectly. Now, one of the biggest things people will ask me about this is they'll say, I know it's a ring shank bender, but I don't use rings. Why would I need something like this? And my response is, well, if you don't make rings, don't make rings. But think of this as a metal former. When you begin to think of this as a tool to form your metal, all of a sudden, the doors open wide, and you can then use this for any number of things. For instance, let's say we want to make a heart, and we'll make it so that it's a little more abstract heart. Let's check that out. So let me show you an example of how I might use this in a little unconventional way. So here I have a wire. This happens to be 14 gauge or about 1.6 millimeter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this around. We're going to make a heart, but we're going to make a little more of an abstract heart. First thing I want to do is I'm going to pull my wire, so not that it's sitting right in the middle of my post here, but kind of off to the side. And then I'm going to bring this around. Now, notice that we come around here, but it's not quite up against the mandrel. So I'll roll it back a little bit, and then I give it a little push. Now here's another thing too. If I'm going to be doing, if I want to wrap it around the mandrel completely or whatever, or maybe even just a little more, I will hold the handle here and I will just pull this around a little bit. Okay, and it kind of holds it into place where I need it to be. In this case, I want to have just a little bit more, so I'm just going to hold that again and pull it around. So now I have the beginning of this side. Now, like I said, I'm going to make this a little more abstract heart, or kind of a wonky heart, maybe I guess you could say. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this. This was a 12 millimeter. Now I'm going to do a 16 millimeter. So pull in that die and its matching former. I'm going to flip it around on the opposite end, and once again I'm going to do the same thing. So I start it off to the side, bring it back in, and then curve it from the very beginning. And now I can either feed this in and wrap it up against the mandrel like so, or I can hold it and just pull it around. Either way is up to you. So now here we have two little, I guess, the lobes of our heart. Next thing I'm going to do is I need to put in my bend. Now I have a couple of options here. I've got the 90 degree or I have the 60 degree. But in this case, I'm going to use the 60 degree. Whenever I use the 60 degree or the 90 degree, I will kind of line them up together and I'll close down on my die just to make certain that I'm aligned properly. So what I'm going to do now is set this in here so that, and again, I'm not even in the halfway point at this because I want this heart to be just a little bit wonky. So I'm going to place it here, and then I'm going to bring these two ends together until they meet. So now I have my heart that looks like this. So like I said, he's a little bit wonky, and that's exactly what I wanted. Now I could have moved that point and changed where these two lobes came and met. So it's just up to you on how you do that. Let's look at one other example. So here I have a stone that has a nice point, and this is a pretty tight point. When I'm doing bezels, a lot of times I'll use pliers or other types of tools to help me get these points. Well, this is where this particular 60 degree can come in handy. I've got a sharper point than a 90 degree, but when I use my square stones, sometimes I will use that 90 degree to get those corners as well. So let's see what we can do with this one. Here I have loaded that 60 degree die, so I'm going to place my bezel wire into the former. Now I'm not going to go necessarily all the way to the die itself, so I'm not going to close it down completely because I don't believe that my stone has that sharp of a point. So I just use it to get that point started. And now I can bring this back into my stone and see how it fits. In this case, we actually fit really, really well. Obviously, I'm still gonna have some work to do here around kind of those bellies on my stone, but as far as that point and the angle goes right there, I'm pretty darned close. So that is another way you can use this former in your work. Now, ways that this tool gets used in my studio, I use it to help me form bales. I use it for rings, I use it for earrings. I've even done bracelets on it. You don't have to wrap your wire directly against that mandrel. You can use it just as a little bit of leverage. So like I said, bracelets, it helps me if I'm doing a heavier gauge bracelet and just need a little bit of effort or kind of that resistance as I start to bend things around. So like I said, think of this as a metal former, and all of a sudden the doors open and you have unlimited possibilities. So if you've been looking or considering one of these ring benders, I would highly suggest that you check out the Durston option. It is beautifully finished. You have the two options with the different mandrels. And like I said, it includes both the steel as well as the Delrin, and they have that beautifully radiused edge so that it reduces that marring on your metal. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and mark those notifications, ring that bell, so that you'll not miss any of the others that are coming up. I have some really good things coming up. We're going to be continuing our polishing series, so you don't want to miss out. We'll see you guys next time. Have a wonderful week.